The movie begins with 8 candidates preparing to take a test for a highly desirable job at a lucrative company. Some candidates motivate themselves with positive self-talk, while others adjust their appearance before entering the exam hall. The room is dimly lit, and desks are arranged uniformly for each candidate. There are also cameras in place to monitor their actions. Once the 8 candidates are seated, a guard with a gun enters the room, making everyone visibly nervous. After that, a man walks in. He doesn't share his name, but introduces himself as the Invigilator. He apologizes for the difficulties they've had to face to get here, explaining that they have passed all previous recruitment stages and are now finalists. If they pass this final exam, they'll land their dream job. The Invigilator then explains the rules. Government laws do not apply inside the exam hall. They only need to follow the exam's rules. They cannot speak to the guard or the Invigilator. If they ruin their paper intentionally or accidentally, or if they leave the room for any reason, they will be disqualified. The candidates have 80 minutes to finish the test. There's only one question on the paper that they need to answer. The Invigilator then asks if they have any questions. When no one responds, he wishes them luck, starts the timer, and leaves the room. The candidates pick up their papers and are shocked to see that the pages are completely blank. Confused, they glance at each other. As time passes, they become more anxious. Candidate number 2 begins to write on her paper, explaining why she thinks she deserves the job. The cameras zoom in on her paper, and the guard is instructed to remove her from the room because she has ruined her paper. She begs for a second chance, but the guard closes the door. After some time, candidate number 5 realizes something important. The rule said they couldn't talk to the Invigilator or the guard, but it never said they couldn't talk to each other. He shares this revelation with the others. This makes them realize that before finding the answer, they first need to figure out what the question is. The group starts discussing different ways to pass the exam, but they remain confused. Throughout all of this, candidate number 1 stays completely silent. One of the men tries to introduce himself, but number 5 suggests they give each other nicknames, so they don't reveal their real identities. He names candidate number 1 Deaf, since he hasn't said anything yet. The other men are given names based on their skin color, brown, black, and white. The women are named after their hair color, blonde, brunette, and dark. White then suggests they get up from their seats, since no rule says they can't. He takes a chance and stands up. To everyone's relief, the guard doesn't react, which means they are free to move around. Brunette believes that the question might be written on the paper in invisible ink or a watermark. They all agree to test the theory, but aren't sure how to go about it. Brunette stands up and uses the room's lights to check if anything is written on the paper. Even though she can't see anything, she insists that everyone should check their own paper, just in case the question is only on one of them. Deaf remains seated quietly, not participating. White picks up his paper and checks it under the light. When that doesn't work, Black suggests that maybe the text is only visible under UV light or X-rays. The group starts searching for a switchboard to see if they can turn on different types of lights. When they can't find one, they decide to look for another source of special lighting. Deaf still doesn't help and just sits nervously in his seat. Blonde finds emergency light strips in the room, but there's no switch to turn them on. So, the group decides that to trigger the emergency lights, they'll have to break all the other light bulbs. Brown argues that it's too risky, but they take a vote and decide to go ahead with the plan. After smashing all the lights, the room turns blue under the UV light. Everyone except Deaf rushes to check their papers again, but they're disappointed once more because no question appears. Brunette tells everyone to peel off the first layer of the strip lights, thinking that they might release UV rays that could help them. They use the heels of one of the women to break the strips, revealing another type of light. But once again, they're disappointed. This light doesn't help either. Now, the group only has 60 minutes left. Frustrated, White asks everyone to think of more options. As they brainstorm, White realizes something. They can use number 2's paper since she's already been disqualified. So, they gather around her desk and try to reveal something by rubbing a pencil on the paper. Still, no question appears. White then tears up his own paper into small pieces to experiment with different ideas. At one point, he even urinates on one of the papers to see if the liquid would reveal anything, but that doesn't work either. Black and White get into a heated argument about what to do next, but they stop when they hear Def crying. He sits quietly, sobbing in his seat, while the others watch him as if they're entertained. Suddenly, he starts muttering in French, asking them if they can see anything on the paper, claiming that the paper reflects their image. They don't pay much attention to his rambling and go back to their thoughts. Then Brown speaks up and everyone falls silent. He suggests a theory that they're not actually in an exam, but in some kind of reality show, like a twisted game where the company's board members are betting on which of them will crack under pressure. According to him, they're only there for the board's entertainment. Brunette disagrees, saying the board members likely have better things to do with their time. But Brown insists that money is the last thing on their minds. With the amount of wealth they have, maybe they live for risks and thrills. Everyone starts throwing out their own ideas. Some think the invigilator is behind this, while others believe it could be the CEO. The tension rises, and they begin insulting each other. Dark confidently says that no one is watching them because the CEO has full control over the company. She has all the power and authority. It's clear that Dark knows more about the company than anyone else. Brown asks Dark how she knows so much about the CEO. It turns out that Brunette used to work in HR at the company, but had never seen the CEO. She had applied for a higher position, and now she's here. White reveals that he was headhunted and offered a job, but the others mention that they applied for the position. However, they all have one thing in common. They don't know much about the company or its work because they weren't allowed to ask any questions. Dark then explains that they are applying for a job at Baroque, a famous multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. A few years ago, when a pandemic spread among the world's youth, Baroque was the first to find a cure. Today, they have an annual revenue of $20 billion, all thanks to their CEO. Suddenly, Black suggests that the company might have found the cure for the latest deadly disease that has been killing millions worldwide. Brunette becomes curious and starts asking Dark more about it. This makes White suspicious, so he asks Brunette if she's infected with the virus. Brunette denies it and brushes off the accusation. To distract herself, Brunette walks over to the guard and, without saying a word, takes a lighter from his pocket. She then looks up at the fire alarm. The group plans to use the lighter to activate the sprinklers, hoping the water might reveal hidden writing on the papers. Brunette climbs onto a chair, but can't reach the fire alarm. White hands her a piece of paper, which she burns to set off the alarm. Soon, the sprinklers go off, but the papers remain unchanged. Suddenly, the guard walks over to the group. At that moment, Dark opens her paper and reveals that it was hers all along. White had tricked her, weakening her chances in the competition. The guard takes Dark away as she angrily calls White a cheat. Filled with rage, Black threatens to punch White, but the lights go out, making the group believe the room is sound activated. They warn each other to be careful. Just then, Def starts crying again. White slowly kneels in front of him and intimidates him, forcing him to tear up his own paper and eat it. The guard approaches Def and escorts him out as well. Now, only 5 candidates remain. Black angrily scolds White, calling him a horrible person, but White insists they should thank him for getting rid of their competitors. He claims he knows what the question is, but refuses to share it with the group. Furious, Black knocks him out with a single punch. The group ties White to a chair and gags him with a tie. After a while, White regains consciousness, and Dark removes the gag. White then asks for his medication, saying that he is also infected with the virus and needs to take a pill every hour to stay alive. Black searches White's pockets for the pills, but finds none, which convinces the group that White is making excuses just to be set free. However, White insists that one of them took the pill and promises to reveal the question if they return it. Soon, he passes out again and starts convulsing. Some believe he's faking it, but Black claims he's having a seizure due to the virus. They search the room for the missing pill, but can't find it. With only 15 minutes left on the timer, they begin searching each other. Dark becomes suspicious of Brown, and it turns out she's right when they find the pill stuck under some chewing gum on Brown's shoe. Dark tries to give the pill back to White, but Brown throws it into the vent instead. While the others attempt to retrieve it, a stressed brunette rushes to the camera and begs the invigilator to help save White. Unfortunately, because she spoke to the invigilator, she's immediately disqualified and escorted out. After Brunette is gone, Blonde uses a bobby pin to retrieve the pill from the vent and saves White's life. Once White recovers, the group demands the answer he promised. White reveals that the answer is the candidates themselves. They had been searching for a question, but White believes there isn't one. According to him, the last person standing is the answer. The others start to believe him, but before they can act, White rushes to grab the guard's gun. Black tackles him and takes the gun instead, pointing it at White, who confidently says Black won't shoot him. White then attacks Black and manages to take back the gun. However, when White tries to use it, he realizes the gun has fingerprint recognition and won't fire. White then uses the guard's fingerprints to unlock the gun and points it at the others, threatening them to leave the room voluntarily so that he can win the position. Brown does not resist out of fear of being shot and deliberately walks out. Scared, Blood slowly goes outside but eventually shouts, "Lights out." The room goes completely dark and White starts shooting wildly in the dark. When the lights come back on, Black is lying on the ground with a bullet hole in his chest. White looks around and sees that Blonde's one leg is still inside the room. He is about to shoot her as well, but then he notices that the timer has stopped. Now, White goes to the camera and tells the invigilator that he is the winner of the competition. A card comes to him showing the time, and White is shocked to see that there are still 20 seconds left, which means he has become disqualified for talking to the invigilator. It is then revealed that Def changed the time while they were discussing other things. In the end, only Blood remains. She goes into the room and picks up Def's glasses that fell when he was taken out. Using them, she sees that the question 1 is written on the paper. To her great surprise, Def enters the room and reveals that he is the CEO of the company and was present during the exam to oversee everything. Blood approaches him and says, "No," and the CEO and invigilator smile, seeing that she has understood the question and passed the exam. It turns out that when the invigilator asked at the beginning of the exam if anyone had any questions, that was the very question they were supposed to answer. The entire exam was to test the candidate's intelligence and attention to detail. They appoint Blonde as the secretary to the CEO, but she does not accept the job because she does not want to work for an organization that kills people. The invigilator reveals that Black is actually not dead, and the bullet he received was a capsule that heals wounds after entering the body. In fact, this is a magical medicine they recently developed which can cure any disease in the world. In the end, Blonde accepts the job, and the film ends with her shaking hands with the CEO. For more such videos, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.